My father's name flashed on my phone screen for the 5th time, and I watched it vibrate against my sleek glass desk. This surface was a far cry from the scratched oak table where I'd done homework as a child. Outside my window, Chicago's skyline gleamed in the afternoon sun, a dizzying 50 stories up and 800 miles from the sprawling ranch house where I'd learned to make myself small. I hovered my finger over ignore again, my heart pounding in my chest, and the leather chair creaked as I shifted my weight. The phone fell silent, but 3 seconds later, an email notification appeared from Parcel, Lawrence Caldwell. Subject, your sister needs you. Last chance. My stomach tightened, a knot of anxiety twisting within me as I opened it. The words blurred together except for the final line. Tiffany's wedding is the most important event of her life. Be there or forget about any future support. A voicemail notification popped up next. I pressed play and set it on speaker. Madeline, it's your father, his voice filled my apartment, commanding as ever. I don't know what game you're playing, but this has gone on long enough. Your sister's wedding is in 2 weeks, and the festivities start this weekend. If you can't put aside whatever grievance you have for Tiffany's special time, then you can forget about any future support from this family. Your mother is beside herself with worry. Call me back immediately. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. I crossed to the closet and pulled out a frame, a diploma hidden behind winter coats. The golden embossing caught the light. Madeline Ann Caldwell, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, summa cum laude. 3 years, it had been collecting dust instead of hanging proudly on my wall, because old habits die hard. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Please call, your father is getting impatient. I glanced at the calendar on my desk. Tiffany's 2-week wedding extravaganza was highlighted in angry red. 14 days of ceremonies, parties, and photo shoots for the golden child's perfect day. I tapped open my banking app. $138,139 in savings. More than enough to never need their support again. But they just didn't know it yet. A memory surfaced. 3rd grade, clutching my report card with 5 perfect A's, and Mom at the kitchen table, nodding without looking up from her magazine. That's nice, honey. That same night, the living room erupting in cheers for Tiffany's participation ribbon from the school play. Did you see how she projected her voice? She was the best one up there. Dad's face glowing with pride, while I sat invisible on the stairs. The science fair my sophomore year, the blue ribbon I won for analyzing local water quality. The empty chairs where my parents should have been. They'd gone to Tiffany's soccer game instead. She'd scored 1 goal, and they talked about it for weeks. Principal Williams handed me my award. Your parents must be so proud. I nodded, the hollow feeling in my chest already familiar. Then, senior year, the thick acceptance package from the University of Chicago. My hands trembling as I read the scholarship offer. Chicago? Mom's forehead creased with concern. That's so far away. Tiffany might feel inferior if you go there when she's just attending community college. Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. We've discussed this. You're staying local. End of story. The quiet negotiation that followed. I could live in the dorms at State, just 20 minutes away, for a quiet study, I'd argued. They agreed, believing I'd surrendered. 2 weeks later, I boarded a bus to Chicago with everything I owned in 2 suitcases, leaving a carefully crafted paper trail of community college registration and a fake dorm assignment. The calculated risk of my first real independence. Now I stand before my bathroom mirror, no longer the invisible daughter. My reflection shows someone they wouldn't recognize, confident, successful, unburdened by the need for their approval. I returned to my desk and traced my fingers over my name on the diploma. Madeline Ann Caldwell, product analyst, 6-figure salary, invisible no more. My laptop screen glowed as I opened the airline website. My fingers moved decisively across the keyboard, booking a first-class ticket home. Time they finally see me, I whispered to my reflection in the darkened screen. I packed my designer luggage with precision, tucking the diploma between layers of clothes. A gentle smile spread across my face as I imagined their expressions when they finally learned who I'd become. Have you ever had to hide your success from those who should have celebrated it most? What would you do if your family only valued you when they needed something from you? My homecoming is about to teach them a lesson they never expected. The rental car crunched over familiar gravel, and I parked behind a flower-spanned archway. My childhood home had transformed into something from a bridal magazine, with ivory fabric swags draped across the porch railings. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Her hair was colored a precise shade of honey blonde, not a strand out of place. "Madeline, finally!" Her hug felt like a performance, too stiff and too brief. "Decided to support your sister, I see." Inside, the house smelled of vanilla candles and fresh paint. Wedding planning had turned every surface into a staging area. My father emerged from his study, reading glasses perched on his nose. He didn't hug me, just nodded over a clipboard. "Good, you're here. The programs need to be folded, and these guest welcome bags assembled." He thrust the clipboard into my hands. "Tiffany needs these done by 4. "I just walked in the door, Dad," I said, my voice tight. "And now you have something useful to do?" Tiffany appeared at the top of the stairs, phone pressed to her ear. "No, I specifically said cascading arrangement, not gathered. This is literally ruining everything." She spotted me and held up one finger in the universal sign for wait. "Do you understand this is the most important day of my life?" When she finally descended, she air-kissed near my cheek. "Mad, thank God. The caterer is threatening to quit, and Mom is useless with the seating chart." "Nice to see you too, Tiffany." "Elliot's planning this surprise for the reception, and I need to make sure it coordinates with everything else." "Elliot?" I sat down my bag. "Her fiancé," my mother supplied. "You'll meet him at dinner. He's absolutely wonderful, such a brilliant investor." "Crypto millionaire," Tiffany corrected with obvious pride. Elliot Brady arrived at precisely 6:30 p.m., carrying an expensive bottle of wine and wearing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He was taller than I expected, with the kind of clean-cut handsomeness that belonged in commercials for luxury watches. The mysterious sister finally appears. He gripped my hand too firmly. "Chloe said you were some kind of computer genius hiding away in the big city." "Product analyst," I corrected. "Sounds intense," he winked. "I've got some friends developing an AI trading platform. Revolutionary stuff. We should talk shop sometime." During dinner, Elliot dominated with tales of crypto investments and exclusive opportunities. My father hung on every word. "So which exchanges do you primarily trade on?" I asked during a rare pause. Elliot's smile froze momentarily. "Oh, a mix, mostly private platforms. Exclusive access through my network." "Fascinating. And your company's based where?" "We're decentralized," he replied smoothly. "The beauty of blockchain, right? I've got partners in Singapore, Zurich, Dubai." My father shot me a warning look. "Madeline, not everyone wants to discuss business at dinner." Later, searching for wedding programs in my father's study, I stumbled across refinancing paperwork for the house, dated 3 weeks ago, the property I grew up in, which had been nearly paid off, now carried a sizable new mortgage. Voices drifted from the adjacent dining room. "Lawrence, are you sure about this second mortgage?" My mother's worried tone froze me in place. "That's everything for my inheritance too, Helen. Elliot has guaranteed 20% returns minimum, but $15,000 is—" "You wouldn't understand investments like these," my father cut her off. "This is what building real wealth looks like." I leaned against the wall, my analyst brain calculating risk factors. Second mortgage, family savings, inheritance, all flowing toward Elliot's vague investment opportunity. "He's a fraud." Aunt Helen's voice was barely above a whisper as we stood in the back garden, supposedly admiring her contributions to the wedding flowers. "You see it too?" I asked. She nodded, her gray eyes, so similar to mine, sharp with concern. "Your father won't listen to me." Started talking about how I've always been jealous of his success. "Mr. Wilson down the street lost $50,000 in an exclusive investment opportunity last year," she continued. Sounded awfully familiar when I heard about Elliot's proposals. "Madeline," a familiar voice called from the fence line. Mr. Thompson, my old science teacher, waved. "I've been following your career. That Chicago data science program you attended is one of the best in the country. I froze. How did you? Unlike your parents, some of us actually pay attention. Aunt Helen patted my hand. For the first time since arriving, I felt seen. Dad, Mom, I think we need to talk about Elliot. We were in the living room that evening. What about him? My father didn't look up from his newspaper. I've noticed some inconsistencies in his business claims. The way he describes his investments doesn't align with how crypto markets actually function. My mother sighed dramatically. Honestly, Madeline, you've always been jealous of your sister's happiness. This isn't about jealousy. His investment claims don't make mathematical sense. Well, my father finally looked at me, his expression hardening. You don't understand business at this level, Madeline. Not everything fits into your little spreadsheets. The front door opened, and Tiffany entered with Elliot. She immediately sensed the tension. What's going on? Your sister has concerns about Elliot's business. Tiffany's face crumpled. Are you serious? You show up after 3 years and immediately try to ruin the only good thing in my life? Elliot placed a protective arm around her. It's okay, babe. Some people just don't understand innovation. I looked at their faces, defensive, dismissive, deluded, and realized I'd miscalculated. They didn't want the truth. They wanted the comfortable fiction that made Tiffany special and Elliot a prince. The invisible daughter sees everything, but no one wants to look. When you see loved ones heading for disaster, how far should you go to protect them from themselves? Would you risk further rejection to save a family who never appreciated you? I tucked myself into the corner booth at Rosie's coffee shop, the same spot where I studied calculus during high school. The vinyl seats squeaked beneath me, familiar yet foreign. Now my laptop screen glowed with open tabs, business registries, investment forums, social media profiles. 3 previous identities stared back at me. Ethan Lewis, Edward Lambert, Elliot Lawson, now Elliot Lawrence. My finger traced the pattern on the screen. Same man, different names, same charming smile, different victims. I sipped my black coffee, its bitterness matching the taste in my mouth as I connected unmistakable dots. Need a refill, hun? Margie, the same waitress from my teenage years, appeared at my elbow. Her eyes widened as she studied my screen. My cousin lost everything to a man who looked just like that, called himself Edward something. My stomach tightened. Lambert, that's it. She set the coffee pot down. Investment scheme. Left town right before the wedding, broke her heart and emptied her savings. I pulled up another browser window. Margie, would she talk to me? A woman in her 50s sat across from me 2 hours later, hands trembling around her mug. I thought I was special, Karen whispered. He made me feel chosen. My sister thinks the same thing. Karen slid a folder across the table. Pictures, bank statements, police reports that went nowhere. Her jaw tightened. He disappeared 3 days before our wedding, along with $60,000 and my mother's heirloom ring. The photographs confirmed what I already knew. The account statements showed transfers to untraceable offshore accounts. The police reports detailed 3 other victims with similar stories in 3 different states. I thanked Karen and packed up my evidence. The wedding was 5 days away. The knot in my stomach tightened. Where have you been? Mother's voice cut through the hallway as I stepped inside. The flower arrangements need checking, and Tiffany's having a meltdown about the place cards. I glanced at my watch, barely past noon. I was researching something important. More important than your sister's wedding? She thrust the checklist into my hands. Your father noticed your attitude problem. He says you've barely helped at all. A familiar weight settled on my shoulders. The invisible daughter, now visible only for criticism. I found Tiffany in the dining room, surrounded by sample table settings and crumpled tissues. The calligrapher messed up the font. She glared at me through mascara-smudged eyes. Where were you? I've been texting for hours. I checked my phone. 3 texts, the first sent 40 minutes ago. You've always done this, Tiffany sniffled dramatically, disappearing when you're needed, then showing up to overshadow me. The accusation landed with practiced precision. For 23 years, my existence had somehow both fallen short and been too much. I'm trying to help you, Tiffany, by avoiding wedding preparations, by questioning Elliot's business. Her voice rose. You can't stand that I found someone amazing while you're alone in Chicago, doing whatever boring job pays your bills. I bit back the truth about my boring job that pays twice what she's ever earned. Instead, I picked up a place card and examined the allegedly wrong font. I can call the calligrapher, I offered. Dad already did. Tiffany dabbed her eyes. At least he supports me. The living room fell silent as I finished presenting my evidence, printed screenshots, bank records, police reports, and Karen's signed statement. They spread across the coffee table. My parents sat stunned on the sofa. Tiffany perched on the armchair, face pale. Elliot stood by the fireplace, his expression carefully composed. This is clearly a case of mistaken identity. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I have a common face. People mix me up all the time. 3 different women in 3 different states? I kept my voice steady. All with the same experience of a man who fits your description, used names similar to yours, and disappeared with their money right before the wedding. Madeline, my father's voice carried a warning. This is absurd. Dad, look at the pictures. I pushed a photo toward him. Look at the timeline. Look at the pattern. I've never seen this woman in my life, Elliot insisted, gesturing at Karen's statement. Tiffany jumped to her feet. I can't believe you'd go this far to ruin my happiness. Tears streamed down her face. You've always been jealous of me? Jealous. The word caught me off guard. I'm trying to protect you by ambushing my fiancé with these fabrications? Tiffany snatched the papers from the table, crumpling them in her fist. Tiffany, I reached for her arm. The second mortgage, your retirement fund, Mom's inheritance, it's all gone to his investment opportunity. Don't you see the pattern? That's enough. My father stood, face flushed. You need to leave this house right now. Elliot placed a comforting hand on my father's shoulder. Lawrence, it's all right. She's just concerned for her sister. Misguided, but coming from a good place. His practiced sympathy made my skin crawl. I'm not leaving. I stood my ground, straightening to my full height. And I'm not the same invisible daughter anymore. Silence fell across the room. What are you talking about? My mother asked. I didn't go to community college. The truth rushed out after years of containment. I graduated top of my class from the University of Chicago. 3 years ago, I'm a product analyst at Tech Fusion. I make 6 figures. I've been supporting myself entirely since I was 18. Their stunned faces would be satisfying under different circumstances. That is impossible, my father stammered. Is it? I pulled out my company ID badge. Check my LinkedIn profile. Call my office. I've been someone else entirely while you were too busy with your golden child to notice. Tiffany sank back into her chair, her expression flickering between shock and disbelief. And now I'm giving you one chance. Your last chance to see the truth before it's too late. I gathered the scattered evidence, carefully reassembling the chaos. This man is not who he claims to be. The wedding is in 5 days. His pattern is to disappear 3 days before the ceremony, once he has access to all the funds. Elliot's mask slipped. For just a split second, a flash of calculation crossed his face before the charming smile returned. I think we've all heard enough fantasy for one day. My father's voice had regained its authority. Madeline, I won't ask again. Leave now. Meg. I looked at each of them. My father's rigid certainty, my mother's conflicted loyalty, Tiffany's defensive anger, Elliot's practiced concern. When he disappears with everything you have, I said quietly, gathering my belongings, remember that someone tried to warn you. The front door felt heavier than it did when I was 17, sneaking out to study at the library. This time, I wasn't hiding who I was. This time, I was walking away with the truth they refused to see. Have you ever had to stand alone with the truth while everyone you love chose comfortable lies? What would you do if you were me? Walk away or fight harder for a family that refused to listen? My next decision will change everything. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I set it face down on my kitchen counter and poured another cup of coffee. watching the steam rise in the morning light of my Chicago apartment. 2 days before Tiffany's wedding, and the notifications had evolved from demanding to desperate. I flipped the phone over, 17 missed calls, 23 text messages, 5 voicemails. The first voicemail played on speaker. "Madeline, he's gone." My father's voice cracked, a sound I'd never heard before. "Elliot disappeared last night. Call us back." The second, "The accounts are empty, everything, even your mother's retirement fund." His commanding tone had vanished, replaced by something hollow. The third caught me off guard. "The police said without a written contract, there's little they can do." My mother's voice trembled. "They called it a civil matter. Please, Maddie, we need you to come home." She hadn't called me Maddie since I was 10. Tiffany's text glowed on the screen. "You were right, I didn't listen. Please help us." I traced my finger around the rim of my coffee mug. From my 15th floor window, Lake Michigan stretched blue and boundless, 15 stories up, and a lifetime away from the family that only sees me when disaster strikes. My mentor, Vivian, answered on the second ring. "You sound troubled," she said instead of hello. "They finally believe me about Elliot," I told her. "Now that he's gone with their money, and they want your help." A long Vivian's silence held years of wisdom. She'd helped me build my career when my own parents couldn't be bothered to attend my graduation. "What are you considering?" she finally asked. I pressed my forehead against the cool glass of my window. "I haven't decided yet." "Boundaries aren't walls, Madeline. They're doors you control." After we hung up, I booked a flight home for the second time this month. The difference? This time, I packed only enough clothes for 3 days. The wedding tent stood half dismantled in the backyard when my cab pulled up. White chairs stacked haphazardly against the fence. The elaborate flower arrangements, now wilting, still adorned the porch railings. My mother opened the door before I knocked. Her makeup-free face aged 5 years in 2 days. "You came." Her arms hovered for a hug I didn't step into. My father paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear. He hung up when he saw me, his eyes flicking to my designer handbag, the watch on my wrist. "We thought perhaps you might be able to help with..." He cleared his throat. "Financial assistance, until we sort this out. What will the Hendersons think?" My mother wrung her hands. "And the country club board? Your father is treasurer." Tiffany sat curled on the couch, wearing sweatpants and one of my old high school t-shirts she must have found in my former bedroom. Her eyes were swollen. "If you had been more supportive from the beginning, I might have listened." Her voice lacked its usual edge, but the blame landed familiar nonetheless. "You were always so negative about him." I set my handbag on the coffee table and unbuttoned my coat. The living room felt smaller than I remembered. The walls still displayed Tiffany's dance trophies, and not a single one of my academic achievements. "I can help with some things," I said, my voice steady. "Not all." My father straightened. "Now, Madeline, as your father, I can help you file police reports properly. I can contact my colleague who specializes in financial fraud recovery. I can connect you with a lawyer who handles cases like this." I ticked the points off on my fingers. "I cannot replace the money you lost." The silence stretched taut between us, but my mother started. I earned 6 figures. I have substantial savings, and I will not sacrifice my financial security to rescue you from a situation I explicitly warned you about." My father's face reddened. "This family has supported you your entire life." A laugh escaped me, short and unexpected. "Did you, when we put a roof over your head, food on the table? That's the legal minimum, Dad." Tiffany uncurled from the couch. "So you're just going to abandon us after being right? Is that what matters to you? Being right?" I met her gaze steadily. "What matters to me is being respected, being heard." I exhaled slowly. "You need me now, but you've never wanted me. There's a difference." My mother collapsed into a chair. "How can you be so calm?" I learned from experts. The words slipped out before I could catch them. For the first time, they all truly looked at me, not through me or past me. They saw the woman who built herself without their notice, who succeeded without their approval. "These are my boundaries," I said quietly. "I will help you navigate this legally." I will stay 3 days. I will not empty my savings account or co-sign loans. Those are my terms. My father started to speak, stopped, then tried again. When did you become this person? When you weren't looking? Is it our obligation to help family when they've treated us poorly, or is setting boundaries an act of self-respect? What conditions would you set before helping those who only turn to you in crisis? My father paced the living room, each heavy footfall drumming his authority into the floorboards I once tiptoed across. As head of this family, I've always made decisions with everyone's best interests at heart. He stopped, squared his shoulders toward me. This situation requires a united front. I sat perched on the edge of the same armchair where I'd curl up with books as a child, trying to disappear. Not anymore. My mother wrung her hands, wedding ring clicking against her knuckles. Blood is thicker than water, Madeline. Surely you understand that now. The familiar weight of their expectations pressed down. I straightened my spine. You've always thought you were better, Tiffany's voice cracked, her mascara-streaked face bearing little resemblance to the beaming bride-to-be from wedding invitations still scattered across the coffee table. Perfect Madeline with her fancy job and big city life. I checked my watch. They'd been at this for 27 minutes. The coordinated pressure, the guilt, the attempt to make me fold like the paper dolls Tiffany and I once played with. She got the pretty dresses, I got the torn scraps. When I was 8, I said, my voice steady, I won the district spelling bee. You told me you couldn't come because Dad had an important meeting. My father's mouth opened. But I saw you both at Friendly's afterward with Tiffany, celebrating her participation ribbon from field day. The silence hung thick as summer heat. 10th grade, my science project on agricultural runoff won state recognition. The ceremony was the same night as Tiffany's choir concert, where she sang in the back row. You chose the concert. My mother's gaze dropped to her lap. My high school graduation? You left immediately after because Tiffany had a date to prom and needed help with her hair. The grandfather clock ticked in the corner, marking seconds of uncomfortable truth. Christmas 2020, I got you each thoughtful gifts based on conversations we'd had that year. You gave me a generic gift card with the wrong name on it. The front door opened with a familiar creak. Aunt Helen stood framed in the doorway, clutching her purse like a shield. I saw it all, her voice wavered but held firm. Every recital you missed, every achievement you downplayed. I watched this child wilt while you fawned over her sister. Father's face flushed crimson. This is family business, Helen. I am family, my aunt said. Someone in this room needs to acknowledge what happened in this house. I rose from the chair, my full height suddenly apparent in this room where I'd spent so many years trying to shrink myself. I'll help with the house. My voice filled the space I never claimed before. I'll cover the second mortgage. I'll arrange for the credit card debt to be consolidated. Their faces flashed with relief, quickly hidden. But I won't help with your reputation. I won't pretend Tiffany wasn't scammed by a man any decent background check would have flagged. I won't lie to the neighbors about where the money went. I met each of their eyes in turn. I won't attend any community functions where you parade me around as the dutiful daughter who swooped in to save the day. Father's jaw clenched. You don't get to dictate terms in my house. I do when I'm the one with the means to save it. The words tasted unfamiliar, powerful, certain. My assistance comes with legal protections for me. The money will be handled through formal channels, with documentation. You won't have direct access to any funds. Think of it as a business transaction, not a family bailout. Mother's eyes widened. We're not some charity case. No, I said, you're not. Charity doesn't come with requirements. This does. From my briefcase, I withdrew 3 copies of a document my lawyer prepared. The paper made a crisp sound as I placed them on the coffee table. This outlines the terms of my financial assistance. A one-time solution, not an ongoing relationship. I'll transfer the funds to pay off the second mortgage directly to the bank. The credit card consolidation will go through a financial advisor I've selected. This is ridiculous, Father blustered, but his eyes tracked the papers. Second page is an acknowledgement. I tapped the document. It states that for years, you consistently favored one child over the other, creating an environment of emotional neglect. Mother gasped. We would never sign such a thing. Then I'll leave and you can explain to the bank why you can't make next month's payment. The room fell quiet except for Tiffany's ragged breathing. Father reached for his reading glasses with shaking hands. You've become hard. I've become honest. I remained standing. The world didn't break me, neither did you. But I won't pretend anymore. He read silently, pen hovering above the signature line, his hand trembling. Your mother and I did our best. Your best was deeply unequal. The words emerged without anger, just truth. 10 minutes later, all 3 signatures marked the page. I texted my financial advisor to proceed with the arrangements we discussed. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Ms. Winters, we're proceeding with Plan A. Yes, the full arrangement. I listened briefly. Thank you, the documentation has been signed. You'll receive copies within the hour. I turned to my family. Rachel Winters is a certified financial advisor who specializes in family debt restructuring. She'll contact you tomorrow to begin the process. Everything will go through her, not me. Father opened his mouth to object. This isn't negotiable, I said. She'll ensure the mortgage gets paid and creditors are handled properly. The money never touches your accounts directly. I gathered my things without rush or ceremony. No tearful embraces, no promises to call soon. I hope you find peace with your choices. I straightened my jacket, checked that I had everything. Aunt Helen followed me onto the porch. Will you be all right? The afternoon sun warmed my face as I looked at the street where I once waited for a school bus, dreaming of escape. I already am. I walked to my rental car, back straight, steps measured. The rearview mirror showed the house growing smaller, but I didn't look back. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Some shouldn't be. Sunlight streamed through the bay windows of my home office, casting golden rectangles across the maple desk, where I've arranged my life in neat, purposeful rows. My Chicago apartment is gone, traded for this craftsman bungalow with its solid bones and history. 1 year since I walked away from the Caldwell family drama, the diploma now hangs centered on the wall. Madeline Ann Caldwell, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, summa cum laude. No longer hidden behind winter coats, no longer a secret. My laptop chimed with an incoming video call from Layla, the 3rd student in my mentorship program for first-generation college women. Her face appeared, bright with news about a scholarship interview. I used that preparation technique you taught me, she said, tucking her dark hair behind her ear. When they asked why I deserved it more than others, I didn't apologize or minimize. I told them exactly what I'd accomplish with it. I leaned forward. Her smile broke wide. They called an hour ago. I got it. You earned it, I corrected her gently. There's a difference. After the call, I stepped into my backyard garden. Spring had coaxed the first green shoots from soil I've amended and nurtured through seasons of patience. My fingers brushed the tender leaves of tomato seedlings. These will grow strong, unlike the withered roots I left behind. The letter from my therapist, Dr. Haasa. Chen sat on the patio table, 1 year of weekly sessions documented in her precise handwriting. Patient demonstrates significant progress in establishing healthy boundaries and recognizing her inherent value separate from family validation. Wednesday afternoons still belong to the community center, where I teach financial literacy to young women. Last week, Tanya, a quick-witted 17-year-old with a spark that reminds me of myself, spotted the warning signs in a pyramid scheme targeting her mother. I showed her the numbers don't add up, she told me, crying, straightening her spine. My phone buzzed with Aunt Helen's monthly update. I scanned the text. Dad and Mom still struggling to refinance the house. Tiffany working part-time at the local bank, attending therapy twice a month. No mention of attempts to contact me directly. The boundary holds firm on both sides. The garden timer chimed. Time to prepare for tonight. The community center auditorium filled with steady applause as I walked toward the podium. The mentorship program I founded had been recognized for its impact on first-generation college students. The award felt substantial in my hands, glass and metal catching the light, solid and real. I scanned the crowd as I spoke. No empty chairs where parents should sit. Instead, Dr. Chen nodded encouragingly from the 3rd row, my neighbor Mrs. Grayson, who brings me heirloom tomato seedlings, beamed with unrestrained pride. Colleagues from work who value my analytical mind for exactly what it is. Friends who ask how I'm doing and actually wait for the answer. When I started this program, I told the audience, I thought I was helping others find what I never had. What I discovered instead was that worth doesn't come from external validation. It grows from within when we truly see ourselves. Back home, I opened my laptop to finalize details for the Reynolds Visibility Scholarship for academically accomplished students whose achievements have been overlooked. The essay question reads, describe a time your contributions went unrecognized and how you maintained your sense of value. A notification popped up from Sasha, my first mentee. You saw me when no one else did. That changed everything. As twilight softened the edges of the day, I watered my garden with methodical care. The tomato plants stood alongside peppers, zucchini, and herb seedlings, each one chosen, planted, and tended by hands that know their own strength. The rustle of leaves in the evening breeze sounded like whispered approval. I touched the stem of a rose bush I pruned severely last fall. It's sprouting new growth, stronger than before. Some things grow stronger when cut back, I whispered, a smile tugging at my lips as I surveyed the life I've built, thriving, rooted, and finally completely visible. Valuable lesson for the audience. This story highlights the importance of recognizing your own worth, regardless of external validation, especially from family. It demonstrates that setting healthy boundaries, even when difficult, can lead to self-respect and a more fulfilling life. Sometimes choosing your own well-being requires stepping away from toxic dynamics and creating space for those who truly see and appreciate you. Your value is inherent and doesn't depend on the approval or recognition of others. Call for comments and channel subscriptions. What are your thoughts on Madeline's actions? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family? Share your experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more compelling narratives.